it wasn't required to go that deep.
Lyrically, it was not super deep, I will say. Like, I should have said this, like, during the episode, but there was not a single song, I don't think, at least on the album, that I wasn't just nodding along to and just, just, okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yay, I converted another one.
Yes, you did.
Hello, and welcome to the beta episode of After Listening to Podcasts. I am one of your hosts, Terrio, and today I am joined by Brandon Lee. But first, I'm Terrio. I am a graphic designer, music enthusiast, lover, all of that jazz. Been a fan of music since the late 1900s, and I aspire to release some music down the line, but until then, I'm going to keep on listening. What about you?
Yeah, also a big music lover. My dad has been in different music groups pretty much my whole life. I've actually gotten the chance to be like in recording studios and seen how that process is. Music's always been a big part of my life. There for a time I did play music. I've since kind of just relegated that to the past. More of a listener now, but I do thoroughly enjoy music.
Okay, I feel you. And that silky tones you just heard was Brandon Lee. So
yes, sir.
All right. So let me introduce you to the show. So here on After Listening to Pod, we discuss random music related topics, and we kind of discuss them, debate them, and share our love or disdain for them. We love music and music discovery, so that's pretty much the whole point of the show. But before we go any further, let me go through some obligated disclaimers. Number one, we respect everyone's opinion, regardless of how wrong or terrible it may be. Number two, we're just talking about the music. So if an artist got canceled or is in the process of being canceled or is canceled during the recording or during this discussion, we're not advocating for whatever they did or did not do. Yeah. We don't know nothing about nothing. We're just talking about the art.
Yep. Separate the artist and the art.
Absolutely. For each episode, make sure you check the show notes for YouTube links, discussing this links to the songs that we're discussing on the show. And ultimately, we believe in supporting the artists, so give them a stream or two, or crack open your wallet and purchase some physical media, or go to a show if you end up liking them, or vice versa, or whatever. Just do what you got to do to support the artist, whatever that is legal. Buy a crypto or something, who knows. All right, so, and now that that's out of the way, let's get into the music. And I'll go first. For today's topic, again, reiterating, we're discussing our favorite artists' debut albums. And my favorite artist is Timbaland, by proxy, Timbaland and Magoo. Timbaland and Magoo's album back in the day, released in, I think it was, I know it was 1997 when it came out, but I think it was, November 1997 is when it came out. And it was one of the first albums I ever bought as a kid. So I wore the hell out of that CD. Like, I made sure it didn't scratch. I made sure I basically treated it like my precious. And that was my CD. And I read the liner notes backwards and forwards and like matched the names of who did what and all of that good stuff. So I basically fell in love with that album. Actually in Alabama, I was visiting family out that way. And then it had Up Just a Boogie video came on. And I just saw this dude and his Big Mama house cardboard cutout with the hands just moving in the video. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, as a kid, I'm like, this is funny. So in that era, it was, everything was always, bang, bang, shoot 'em up, gangster rap, whatever. So to me, it was a nice departure. So that's Timbaland and Magoo, Welcome to Our World. And now I'm going to turn it over to you, Brandon, to get your reactions to after you listen to the album and what your thoughts were.
All right. Overall,
be gentle. Please be gentle.
I'll be gentle, but also completely honest.
Yeah, that's right.
No, overall, I did really enjoy the album. As someone who never really listened to Timbaland before, like, whenever I was younger, he featured on a few songs that were, like, radio top hits and stuff like that, but I never had to listen to, like, his actual albums, Definitely I never heard Magoo before, which
Most
that was...
haven't.
That was an interesting kind of experience. I actually, the very first song that he's like rapping on, I thought he was one of the like female artists that was doing like kind of a deeper voice. And I was like, who is this? And then like halfway through his verse, like he says something about Magoo or something like that. I was like, this is Magoo for real? So that was kind of interesting. But no, I did really like the album, man. It had a, like from the get-go with Beat Beat Beat, like it just sets the tone, I feel like, of just like this kind of groovy, you know, just it has just a vibe, man. Just the whole album has a vibe. One thing I would like to say that did kind of surprise me is there's a lot of the songs are like explicitly about sex in a way that's like different than how sex is rapped about in like more modern songs, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which by the way, you said Up Jump the Boogie. That was the only song on the album I knew before listening to it.
Okay.
Which was interesting.
Yeah, that's a shocker.
Trying to pull up the album here.
Mm-hmm.
Like Love to Love You. That was the song I was trying to think of. Yeah, man, that song gets a little intense. I think it was Shantae.
Yeah.
I think that's the song. Yeah,
Shanta Montgomery.
Shanta, yeah. Yeah, like there's one line where she like talks about like play with my nipples or something, and like just whenever I heard that line, I was like, that's like just like straight up like telling people this is what I like, do this to me.
Yeah.
There were some cheesy lines and some cheesy moments, like the 15 after song, where it's like every other line, 15 after 11, 15 after 12, is just like that whole story. Yeah. Had me, I say it's cheesy, but I was definitely digging it. You know, it was cheesy in like the best way, I would say. One big thing that was definitely, I guess just because, you know, I was born in 94, so this was like, I was definitely not listening to this whenever it was like contemporary.
Yeah, I don't think a 4-year-old was listening to Up Just a Boogie around that time.
No, definitely not. So I'm definitely more used to like, I didn't really start listening to rap until, you know, obviously I was a little bit older. Mm-hmm. And just the difference in production, like the different sounds. Like I know, you know, with like mid to late 2000s, like 808s and stuff like that really became like the norm. And I guess listening to like an entire album from like before that was, you know, the go-to or whatever sounds, it was a lot more apparent to me. And I think that's definitely like part of my bias, just coming up with like more modern sounding rap. But I don't know, it was something I definitely kind of like missed, I guess, is one way to say it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, like, again, this was a different era of hip-hop.
Right.
So I definitely understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to let you continue before I jump in.
Oh, before you jump in, you got something to add to it?
I mean, of course. I mean, like, yeah, it is. I just didn't want to, you know, step all over your stuff. But ultimately, this album pretty much set the genre of hip-hop forward production-wise. And that's what I really like about this album. The fact being that not two songs sound alike. They may have similar instruments, but every production style is like a completely random flow, random sound effect, a freaking baby choir, like weird samples. So not to say that like nobody did it before Timbaland, because I can't speak for all music, but ultimately when Timbaland came onto the scene with Missy Elliott and with the Genuine Pony, he produced that. So just
he produced that. Okay, that makes a lot of sense actually.
Yeah. So this is that era where Genuine and Missy Elliott, they all started around this time. They all started predated this. Like they started around like 1993 together around that time, if I'm not mistaken. Is when they were discovered under another R&B group called Jodeci, and they were called the Basement Crew around that time. So they all collaborated with each other around that time frame, but due to some things that may or may not happen, allegedly speaking, they wanted to get from up under Jodeci, and Missy was like the first one to kind of make it big. She brought on Timbaland. Timbaland went ahead and got Genuine. Genuine, you know, reached out and grabbed Player. I mean, it's just they all stay connected, and that's why ultimately with this album, as it flows, I love the collaboration, because on every song, even if not credited, Missy's doing a background vocal.
I noticed that. Yeah, even if they're not like, on the title as featured or whatever, a lot of those, yeah, that was really nice to hear. And like catch those, like, oh man, this is, yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is also during the time too where remixes were like a big thing during the 90s, the late 1900s for sure. Like, there'll be the regular version, then it'll be like the remix version, then it'll be the album version, but it'll be like the same song or whatever.
That was one point I wanted to bring up, is there was like, there's a few songs on there that there's not even the original song. At least on the YouTube version of that I listened to, it was like just the remix.
No, on this one, they're both featured on here. It's probably easily overlooked, but like Clock Strikes and Clock Strike remixes on there. Love to Love You remixes are back to back, and Up Just a Boogie and Up Just a Boogie remixes on there too.
Oh, you're right. They just played back to back. That's probably why. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, Love to Love You, the original one was Saint Nick. When she was like, grab my nipples, and like that's when I had like the weird tango vibe sample.
Mm-hmm.
That one, that kind of just, again, I'm in middle school, I think, at this point. I'm listening to these lyrics and I'm just rapping along with it. I ain't know what the fuck I was talking about. And then now that I'm older and I go back and listen to it, I'm just like, why did my folks let me buy this album? it's so vulgar.
It is very vulgar. Which, like, I mean, I don't. That part definitely surprised me a bit. Like, I don't know. I guess I was just naive coming into that, just thinking that like it wasn't until like more recent, relatively more recently in rap that like you could be that explicit. But no, they were. Well, that's in some ways it was worse than a lot of other songs. It's like more modern or come out more recently.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So one thing, normally whenever there's like a rapper and he's kind of just, I guess, like talking and like, kind of a rhythmic tone, but still it's not really like rapping, it's just talking over the beat. I feel like typically that kind of annoys me a little bit, but Timbaland pulls it off, man. He's got the right tone. It's probably a lot of the fact that the beat, like you mentioned, the beats are like just top tier from top to bottom on this song or on this album. But there's like a few songs that he does that on where even if it's just like a verse at the end where he kind of just like talks over the beat, you might have a few like rhymes mixed in, but even those parts I was still like, okay, Timbaland, you get it.
Yeah. I was definitely the same way with that, and I didn't know how to really explain that as a kid. I was like, is he rapping or talking?
Right.
Or kind of singing, because he kind of has that baritone where it's kind of with the flow, but not really. Mm-hmm. And this is the time, what I like to call the robot Tim era. So, like, he, like, really modulated his voice to where he was basically, like, kind of like the guy that's speaking on, like, on a speaker versus actually on a microphone kind of deal. Even in the intro, he said, this is Magoo's album featuring me. So, Magoo is more of the rapper, but Timbaland kind of had to step up a little bit at the end of the day because they did kind of clown him for his lack of rapping, technically. But it's just the fact doesn't matter to me. He's a producer first, then a rapper, and then you also have rappers that produce, and then you also have producer rappers. So to me, there's like three different kind of categories because like Kanye West is a producer rapper kind of deal,
right?
And then you got some other producers that just happen to rap or kind of just throw something in there every once in a while, but not really. It's not really their thing. And then you got Timbaland, who's kind of just like, I mean, I'll do it, but it's not really my thing. He just kind of like saying song, kind of just it's playful, and that's what I enjoy about it. Ultimately, like the beats are playful, the lyrics are playful, and then every now and then they'll get serious and get lyrical.
Writing Rhymes was probably, I don't know if it was my absolute favorite. It was definitely one of my favorites from the album, just because that was one where they're like, Timbaland actually like seriously raps, has some really good bars, good lines on there.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Now, the person you think that really rapped on that song, that wasn't Timbaland.
Was that not Timbaland? Who was it then?
So that's their friend Troy Mitchell.
And he's not even, that was like you were talking about, like people not even credited.
Yeah, so Troy Mitchell, aka his rap name is Alias. And so what Timbaland and a lot of other people have been doing as of, definitely it's coming more to the forefront now, but because Timbaland is not a rapper, he'll get a ghostwriter, and then sometimes he'll have the ghostwriter perform on the song.
Oh, okay.
Just to kind of throw them out there, so I mean, Timbaland is not, again, he's not a rapper, but he can rap. He can write his own stuff. But yeah, that was Troy Mitchell, and then Magoo did the second verse, and then Timbaland kind of just talked the rest of the song out. Like he's like, he's like, I'm not gonna rap on it. I'm just gonna talk for like 3 minutes on the song.
It's just Timbaland things.
Yep. But my main thing, I am dying to know what it was your thoughts about Deep in My Memory, or Deep in Your Memory. That's right, number 13.
I mean, I don't remember having. There's definitely some like lines on this song where I was like, kind of like what, but I don't remember exactly having like any specific strong reactions to this. Mm-hmm. Can I ask why? It was your favorite. Is that why you asked me what my thoughts are on it?
Oh yeah. Just the fact being that during that time, and I still think even to this day, that's one song from 1997 that could be played on the radio today.
That I 100% agree with. I mean, this was definitely like up with like Rotten Rhymes. This is probably like number 2, if not 1, maybe of my favorites on the song as well. I would say. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't have like anything more specific. It was a vibe.
Yeah, definitely was a vibe.
It's definitely a vibe, and it's like I said, it's got some good lines. Magoo goes pretty good. That's probably my favorite Magoo verses was from there.
Yeah, to me, like that's the one song that Magoo actually. Well, okay, it's 2 songs on this album that Magoo really shines as a rapper, in my opinion. It's the original Clock Strikes.
Mm-hmm. Clock Strikes was the other one I was thinking. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then Deep in Your Memory, he goes pretty hard on that one. But to me, Deep in Your Memory, just the way the beat is set up, like I don't think any beat to this day has had some weird like like, and then it's like keeps going through. It's like okay, like the beat's kind of like, and the fact being that the beat is like staccato, and then they still manage to ride the beat at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive.
Okay, I get it. So, all right. And then the other part of the album that I thought was pretty dope is, like I said, they kind of shine or kind of promote their, their friends in the industry or people that they were working with. And then just pretty much after Clock Strikes is like, they're not even on the album anymore. They just got other people on the album. So I thought that was pretty fire.
Yeah, because, I started this by saying I hadn't really listened to Timbaland, but the same thing with Missy Elliott. Like pretty much anyone that was on this album, and except for like a few songs that were like mid to late 2000s that might have been like their Billboard hit, or if they had featured on another song that got popular. It's really the only experience I had with them. So it was definitely it was nice to go back and like listen to some Missy Elliott verses, and like she's not just the 2-step person. She's another one I did not realize she was as freaky as she was. Which I mentioned that to someone else at work the other day, and they were like, "Really? That was like her thing."
Yeah, it still is her thing. Like one of these episodes, if we ever dive deep into that one, like that's gonna be like
I would be down for that.
Oh man, yeah.
Let's get dirty with it.
Yeah, it's gonna get super dirty. Like you got to like walk around with a condom on at all times because you don't never know when Missy will show up. Like it's gonna be that kind of vulgar album.
Oh yeah, so that was definitely a little bit of a shock for me, just because I didn't realize that was her brand, I guess, so to speak. Yeah.
Long before Nicki and all the other ones, there was the Missies and the Little Kims and the MC Lights of the world.
There was a few verses by like the female artists where they featured or whatever that I don't want to say. I guess like I almost heard, or they sounded very similar to how a Nicki Minaj or someone else that I can't think of,
a Cardi B or whoever.
A Cardi B. Thank you. That's what I was trying to like a Cardi B. Like there was a couple verses like this could be like. Or this is like the exact same style almost of like flow,
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting that was still, I don't know, recognizable to some extent.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
You also suggested I listen to Tim's Bio, which I enjoyed, and they have the I can't remember the name of the title, but it's basically it follows the tune to like the old Spider-Man cartoon.
Yes.
That one, whenever it first came on, I just started laughing, and I was like, are you for real, Timbaland, right now? You did this? And it's a good song, too, man. That's what was crazy about it.
Absolutely. That's a perfect segue, which I'm glad, because I gave you the bonus listening of Tim's Bio. to listen to. And the reason why I wanted you to listen to that one was, to me, okay, Timbaland Magoo was the origin story of Timbaland kind of getting into the game. To me, Tim's bio is the definitive stamp on Timbaland as a producer coming into the game. So, because like on Tim's bio, it's pretty much a compilation. Like he raps, but it's not about him. He has so many featured artists on the album to fill in a void of him as a rapper, with special cameos by the staples of Genuine, Aaliyah, what's the name, Missy, and so forth. Mm-hmm. But this is where he stepped his game up rapping wise. And that's when he got the ghostwriter in. Like on the first song, "I Get It On," featuring Basie, she pretty much wrote his verse. But the way he flowed on that, which was a step up. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, Timbaland can rap now. Magoo kind of vanished, partly because label issues and all that stuff, but he's still, to this day, in many circles, perceived as the worst rapper of all time.
Really?
By different fandoms. To me, I'm like that rating is too harsh because there are definitely worse rappers.
Oh man, yeah, he's not the worst of all time. He definitely has some like super cheesy, simple or simplistic, I guess is probably a better word, lines. But I wouldn't say that's definitely way too harsh in my opinion. He's not the worst of all time. Not even close.
Yeah, but the main thing is the voice. And that's why I think people make fun of him because of the voice thing. Because like you said, out the gate, you thought it was a female lowering her voice down.
I thought it was a female doing a voice, dude. I really did. Because again, there was a lot of like artists that like I knew of peripherally, but I'd never like actually listened to. So I was ready to like parse who is who. Threw me for a loop.
Yeah, which is funny. Like I'm not going to force you to listen to any more Timbaland and Magoo, but like they did 2 more albums after this. And then in an interview, Timbaland said... he actually told Magoo, he's like, look, I'm going to need you to bring your voice down a little bit when you rap. So in subsequent albums, Magoo, he doesn't go like this. He's not all up that. He actually kind of brings it down a little bit and tries to bring it in a more acceptable tone. Like when he does appear, every now and then, it's a nice little pleasant surprise, like a random, like, oh, there go Magoo.
Well, okay. A question for you. You may or may not know, but his, like, at least from these albums, like that high-pitched or higher-pitched kind of rapping sound he has, is that how he talks? Is that just his normal sound?
Yeah,
he just naturally has like a higher-pitched voice?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I was wondering as I was listening to it, like, is this, and you kind of just touched on where you said everyone was trying to have their own distinct sound. I wasn't too sure if this was just like him trying to get that distinctness, or if this was just his natural sound. So
that, I mean, yeah, from a few interviews, that's just his normal voice or whatever. So he's kind of like Aziz Ansari. You know what I'm saying? Like his voice is like actually like that. So he's not, he might ham it up a little bit, but ultimately that's just how his voice is set up. The
one word that just, whenever we're talking about this, the one word that just really just keeps popping in my head is it's fun. That's the whole fun point. Music, man. Like that was really, in essence, I feel like that was the vibe for really both albums in a lot of ways. It's just fun. A lot of fun beats, just rap, different artists featuring and getting thrown in there and just coming up with fun verses or rhymes. It's just a lot of fun, man. It really is. Fun,
random as hell, and just weird collaborations. And also, this Tim's bio, and don't quote me on this exactly, but I think this is one of the first appearances of Ludacris.
Really? I was wondering that. How long some of these people had been. Because, I know Aaliyah's on this one. Mm-hmm. She had been in the game for like a few years at this point, right? Because she really came out in earlier 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Aaliyah came out early in...
was she already kind of like a big name? Yes. She was featuring on it? Okay.
Yeah. So she was... Ooh, okay. Remember the disclaimer I said before. So this is during the era when R. Kelly discovered Aaliyah. And
right. We don't have to get into that whole backstory.
Okay, cool. Okay,
I'm aware of that history, so we don't have to get into all that.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if I had to go down that rabbit hole.
It's the timeline that I was just unsure of.
Yeah. So she ended up collaborating with Missy and Timbaland after that album with R. Kelly. So the album awkwardly did not age well, called "Age Ain't Nothing But a Number." Music sonically sounds great, but the album
the
title,
songs themselves are great, but
Yeah, the songs
It's
is like
problematic in every other sense.
absolutely love baby girl, rest in peace. But yeah, that's just anyway. But yeah, so she did a hard pivot and switched over to working with Timbaland and Missy. Partly because they were signed to the same label. So the same label that Timbaland and Magoo signed to is actually Aaliyah's uncle's label at the time. So it was like that whole interfamily connection, and then they kind of vibed it out. And then Aaliyah came out with One in a Million, and that like pretty much changed the whole R&B sound like around that time frame because like nobody really heard an R&B song like that. But yeah. So all in all, like I just wanted you to hear where my love of music kind of started from and where it kind of just spiraled off.
You definitely have. I mean, I am glad that you asked me to listen to Tim's bio because while I did like Welcome to Our World a pretty good bit, it was a very fun album. I do think I liked Tim's bio just a little bit more.
Yes.
And maybe that is because, it came afterwards, so a little bit more practice, a little bit more experienced. It's got a slightly different, vibe going with it. But again, both of them were just, I probably will have, after listening to them several times now, I'll probably have Timbaland randomly pop up in my just, giant playlist YouTube likes to do. And I am okay with it.
Okay, that's good. It's totally fine to have some consensual Timbaland in your life. It's nothing wrong with that.
Yes. Consensual.
Consensual Timbaland. Okay, well, on that lovely note, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to get into Brandon's pick that I listened to. And, I got some thoughts.
Sweet.
And we're back. Brandon, let's talk about your selection that you had me listen to.
So I picked Childish Gambino, and you kind of discussed this. They did have several like free EPs and mixtapes that he came out with, but I ultimately decided on Camp, which was his first like actual fully produced, like in a like professionally produced, I guess is a better way to say it, studio album. Childish Gambino, why I picked him and why he's to this day has been one of my favorite artists. He's kind of the artist that got me back into rap. I started listening to rap whenever I was kind of younger, and like my sister was a few years older than me, and she was listening to rap, making my parents mad with all of the vulgar language and stuff. And so like I'd listen to that with her like on the download kind of, like with the speaker like at night or like with the boombox at night, like in the corner of the room down low, where my parents wouldn't hear.
Nice.
And so as I got older, I got kind of out of it, started listening to, my dad, like I said, it's always been in music. He's always been a rock. He plays guitar, so he's been like more of a rock musician. So I kind of, for several years, just went full into that, and all I listened to was like different styles of rock. And then it was like around the end of my high school, like as I was getting ready to graduate and go into college, it wasn't the full album, so there's a few songs from, I believe he has 2 EPs, or like I Am Not a Rapper is what they're titled. There's a few songs from those that just like, for one reason or another, spoke to me. And then, like, during I think it was either my freshman or maybe after the summer of my freshman year of college, Camp came out. And, man, that album, he kind of has a very unique style that I like. And it just spoke to me on a lot of levels. And there's still several songs that, like, weekly I'm still listening to. They pop up in my playlist, and I'm, like, rapping along with. And, especially, like, during the summer, I got my windows down, speakers up while I'm driving around, stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely credit Childish Gambino, and in a lot of ways that album has really getting me back into hip-hop, and that led to me going down the rabbit hole and reaching out, listening to different new artists, other artists I had heard of but hadn't really listened to because I wasn't listening to rap at the time. And ultimately, in a lot of ways, that's what led to me being here today,
Nice.
Whenever you and me met, we bonded over a lot of the music taste that at that time I was like somewhat, like just within the last year or two, I'd really just started getting into again. So yeah, I'm interested to see what your thoughts are and how it made you feel. So,
going into this, I will admit, I've heard a few songs by Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover. I had some songs kind of in rotation, like I liked from Because of the Internet. I like 3005. I like that one. That was one of the songs I already had in rotation. But I never heard about Camp, at least not knowingly. So I was like, okay, this is different. Going into it, I will say, from way back in the day when you started like sharing music tastes and everything, I see why we both love Logic as much as we do.
100%.
Listening to this album, I got so many, I'm just like, wow, I see why Logic and Childish Gambino are like two of the same, like they're different for sure. Like different flowing ability, different life stories and life experiences, but just the vibe and the confidence and the internal struggle and all those things that they rap about in their lyrics, they're like basically two people on the same coin, ultimately. Listening to this album, I will say that first song I listened to no less than 85,000 times. Outside is phenomenal. It is the perfect intro song to an album to like just lay the foundation to like, this is what you're getting into. This is who I am. This is my whole life story. And I felt like, I was like, damn, like, did I just grow up with this kid? Like, I felt like I knew Donald Glover. And going into this as a self-identifying blurred myself, the content that he rapped about resonated with me beyond a whole nother level, because it's weird not really knowing where you fit in on any kind of group. You know, you can be cool with this clique, but be hated by this other clique, but then be accepted by this one clique, but they don't fully accept you for who you are, for what you like. Especially during that time back in the early 2000s or whatever else, where everybody had to be clicked up, or you had to be stuck into a particular box, otherwise you were othered or shunned or whatever. So just going into it, the album, just the lyric alone. So a complete departure from Timbaland and Magoo when it comes to lyricism.
Yes.
like this, like Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, the fact that there were no wasted bars on this album, period. Like he had some playfulness here and there, but everything had a purpose. Everything had a reason for being the way it was. It's just like I got a whole manifesto of notes that I took. So the main thing that I really loved about this album from start to finish was the fact being that the hunger in his flow, like he had something to prove. And I was trying to figure out, I was like, okay, you said, there was some mixtapes prior to this. And I was like, okay, he has a hunger, and it's, like this is his first major label debut, but it still felt like he still had a chip on his shoulder. And I was like, I was a little curious about that. So I went back and listened to EP, the 2011 re-release or whatever. And I listened to that. It was pretty cool. And then even on that album, I think he commented on the fact being that he was like, the part of the reason why I released my mixtapes for free, because that was my old me, and I'm not going to rap as a persona. I'm just going to rap my life going forward. And I was just like, thank you. That's what I miss in hip-hop. Because that's what it used to be about for the majority of the part. Yeah, you got your gimmicks and you have your fun stuff or whatever, and that's all cool. But you still rap your life story, or you rapped about your experiences, and you told a story over the beat and have fun with the production and guest appearances or whatever. So that really resonated with me. But yeah, just the fact being that most of his lyrics are autobiographical, dealing with the blurred life culture and not being fully accepted by black culture or white culture or nerd culture for that matter. I dug it, man.
Yeah, I didn't want to touch on it too much on my intro to the album or whatever, but I definitely agree. As you know, I'm definitely, I definitely can listen to and appreciate beats and production, but I definitely am a little bit more of a lyrically focused when it comes to music type of guy, which is of course partly why I love Childish Gambino so much. Is like you said, he's very no bar wasted. I definitely agree with that. One interesting thing about this album for me is touching on that whole idea of like being black, but like not fitting in with like the hood culture, and then struggling to fit in the quote unquote black culture. That just hearing that as a white person.
Hold up. What? You're white?
I am.
What the hell?
I am. Sorry. News to everyone who's not aware.
I'm so sorry. Podcast over. This is the end of the show. Brandon Lee is white.
Should have put that in the disclaimer.
Right? That was the third disclaimer
that we missed. But no, just hearing that honestly partially helped like expand my horizons and just like kind of understand. Because okay, a little bit of my background. I grew up in an area that didn't have a ton of people of any race that wasn't white, so I didn't have just like a lot of exposure to people of different backgrounds necessarily. So I guess that was just an aspect of like, if you're in the black community, you might have that struggle of fitting in or whatnot. It's something I never thought, or I didn't really know existed. Yeah. Which did eventually lead to me like, meeting other people, like actual people in my life that could also, you could say, like had that same issue. Like, you know, they didn't necessarily fit into one box or another, but were a person of color and had to deal with that. And yeah, I definitely credit this album for giving me a little bit of a insight into what they might have been going through and a little bit more empathy and like understanding of that whenever I got to meet them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing that kind of resonated with me as well, because like knowing your background and listening to this album, I was just like, okay, yeah, I get it now. So it was just like one of those, like the light went on for me personally, and then also like a little bit into your life as well. So I was like, okay, this totally makes sense. But yeah, it just really it really spoke to me on a variety of different levels. I do have one complaint about the album overall.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. Why does motherfucker gotta be so damn talented? Like, why you gotta be the producer, rapper, and singer? It's not fair.
He was also writing for TV shows. He was acting at the time.
It is not fair. Like, he needs to save some of this talent for the other people out there. Like, it's sickening. It's sickening.
It's very hard not to be jealous of his talent.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I was so mad because it's like listening to this, like, okay, so like going on the playlist or whatever. Outside, perfect intro song, sets the tone for the album. Firefly was dope. I like it because it kind of continues the Outside narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, when he Bonfire and Backpackers and You See Me, that's when he just pretty much just goes complete ape shit on the lyrics.
Yeah, those are the three like going hard tracks.
Just goes straight bananas on it. But for me, All the Shine, that's the one that got to me. Because I'm just like, that was like, granted, this is his first major label release and the mixtapes, and I'm quite sure he did a lot of his own singing and stuff on the mixtapes. But listening to Camp first and then going back to listen to the mixtapes, when All the Shine comes on, it's like, this is like one of the, this is like the first song on our album that really showcases all his talents in one song. I'm just like, that's when I just dropped my phone and pull my headphones off, and I just had to go outside and take a walk because I was mad. Like, there's no reason for somebody to be this talented.
Yeah, he can even like sing well. It's not often that a good rapper is able to also like sing well beyond just like the a basic just hold the note for a line or two. Like, no, he's even done like covers on YouTube and stuff where he's like full on like singing other songs, and it's again just what you're saying, just it's too damn talented, man.
Yeah, it's like the fact being that like we didn't even go, I didn't go to the album with Redbone on it, but the fact being that I heard Redbone and I thought it was somebody else entirely, and they said, "Oh, that's Childish Gambino." I was like, "No, that's not. That's like that's some R&B new person out." I was like, "No, that's Childish Gambino." I was like, "Okay, well, he clearly did auto-tune." Then I saw him perform it live, and he did just acapella, like no auto-tune, straight acapella, did the whole song. I was like, bruh. Like, I punched my TV. Like, I was that mad. like it's ridiculous. Like, why are you this damn talented? So that song stuck to me. And then the other song that really got to me, because I'm like your lyrics first, and then production second or down the line. Me, I kind of hear the beat first because I'm a producer first, and then I kind of. Like the beat picks me up first, and then I get in on the lyrics. But a lot of times, if the beat is good, I kind of can forgive the lyrics. It can't, like, I don't have to worry about that. But Les, that track, man, him, like Donald Glover and Ludwig, those two, man, like that's
so this was my introduction to Ludwig. What all else? Do you know if anything else like major that he's been on? Because he seems to be like, I've heard like other. Like online, I've heard comments where he seems to be like a well-known producer.
Yeah,
to some extent.
Yeah, so I didn't know too much about him beforehand. So like I kind of did my own little but Google research kind of rabbit hole. And this dude produced on Community. Then he ended up getting assigned to Jay-Z's Rock Nation label as a producer, as a composer. So this man is out here composing movies. He ended up working with Justin Timberlake on the Trolls soundtrack. Like, this man has been everywhere. Like, he's collaborated with all kinds of different artists. Just the fact being that this man was just a composer. He actually worked with, what's the name? Ryan Coogler. Like
Really?
he scored the Creed soundtrack and like part of the Black Panther soundtrack. And anybody who's seen Black Panther or Wakanda Forever, the music along with the story plays a significant part in it. And just the fact being that hearing that translate over to this album, and also because of the internet when they also collaborated, I'm just like, wow. Okay.
Well, they've been a long time. I think like pretty much every, because Ludwig was also at least partially the producer on. I'm blanking on the album that has Redbone, whatever the title of that album is. He helped produce that album. So him and Donald Glover apparently go way back.
Yes.
That's one thing I didn't think to research myself before this, but I'm interested to see if like how they met. I guess like what the origin of that partnership is. Something I'm not aware of that story, but
yeah, I think they collected with him acting actually. Like Ludwig was producing something for one of the shows he was working on, and then
you said he wrote for Community. I guess that would be because Donald Glover was an actor on Community, so I guess that's probably where they would have met.
Yeah,
I think it was also around that time he was releasing his first couple EPs as well.
Yeah. So I think that was around that time, if not beforehand. I'm not sure, but I think it was around that time, and that's when they kind of just skyrocketed. But yeah, LES, which apparently stands for Lower East Side, this says less. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was like short for lesbian at first, but I was just like, nah, I don't think that's it. But yeah, so that song alone just kind of just like killed it. Heartbeat, phenomenal commercial pop track or whatever.
Yeah,
coming from a lyrical rapper.
I think that one was probably his biggest commercial hit from the album.
Yeah, I could definitely see that because it transcends a lot of genres. So it can be rap song, R&B ish song, but it has a very dance vibe, and dance and EDM pretty much that's the one genre that goes anywhere in the world.
And it's a topic that almost everyone can relate to.
Yeah, definitely the friends with benefits situation. That's
friends with benefits. That's someone you were kind of, in a relationship with before, and then now you don't know where it's going on. You're both exploring new options, still kind of connected, but not.
Yeah,
most people have been in something. You can at least partially relate to different parts of that, if not all of it. I feel like.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like like the whole identify the relationship thing is like, are you my girlfriend? Are you my real girlfriend? Are you not my girlfriend? I mean, I enjoy what we do, but yeah, Sunrise was a good time. I like that one. Again, the main thing, the thing about Sunrise, that track that I liked the most was the vibe of that song felt more like a live situation, like something performing live. Like the way the drums were, the way that they kind of did the drums, it was kind of like the call and response kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I see that.
So me listening to that, like I just automatically envision him performing that song live, and like the audience just going in with it. So I definitely can feel that. All in all, the album, it flows top to bottom. There's no reason to skip anything. It's just you hit play and you just kind of just enjoy the vibe and just let it happen. That power though, that conclusion, like the album was already a nice present. It was a nice gift that we got, but then the conclusion of that power was like the bow and the ribbon that was put on top of it just to make it extra pretty for no reason. Like it was already fine as it was, and then you just had to embellish it a little bit more. I just like he even brings his actor side into this, so it actually became like a spoken word piece from like R&B, rap, and then he kind of goes to the spoken word performance thing. So I'm just like, I love you and hate you at the same time because you're so damn talented. It's sickening. It's been pretty good.
Well, so I'm happy you've enjoyed it then.
Yeah. It was dope.
So, question for you. You mentioned that you listened to the 2011 EP. You've probably listened to that like more than I have then at this point. I think I'm sure I went back and listened to it at one point, but like I don't even remember necessarily any tracks off of that. Was that like his very first EP? Really don't. I know I've listened to it, but it was so long ago I don't really remember anything specific about it. Do you want to talk about? Because I do remember that it was kind of rough to some extent. There's definitely like a sense of evolution. Like if you listen to that and then immediately listen to Camp, I feel like.
I want to say not necessarily. It was more typical rap, as far as being a stereotypical, misogynistic, vulgar, whatever. But there are some songs like "Not Going Back." To me, that's a standout song. "Freaks and Geeks" is a standout song. And "Not Going Back" is a song that I referred to earlier when he's basically said that like I pretty much given this album, giving away my mixtapes for free because I'm not going back to that persona, that life anymore because that's not who I was. And he basically said that from now on, if I'm a rap, if I'm not going to rap about my own life, I'm not going to rap it anymore. Period. So that's where I think that was the pivotal point. Thus, the Camp album, which listening to that, listening to EP, then listening to Camp, and then going to Because of the Internet, you definitely can see the growth. Because like EP was just, I'm trying to fit in, but I'm not quite fitted in kind of deal. But I'm still doing me. He's kind of like in that confusion state. And then he finished with Not Going Back, which kind of just put the end on that era. Then he goes into Camp and he just raps his whole life story throughout and his whole experience and being a young adolescent, learning love and being rejected and all that good stuff and trying to find your way and find yourself. And then because of the internet, it became less autobiographical, but more commentary. So that album, that was a growth where I was like, okay, it became less introspective. It was more like, okay, let's comment on society. Like the song World Star, everybody knows what that means without even knowing what it means at this point. So, but yeah, so listening to that, and I was like, okay, I see the growth. And then Because of the Internet, he actually, I don't want to say rap less. It feels like it's less rap on that album compared to Camp. Camp is like bar from bar, I'm rapping, I'm spitting bars, everything's going to have rap in it. To me, Because of the Internet, he showcased more of his singing ability, his more melodic side.
Definitely agree with that. There are a good, like maybe half the album, give or take, is still like just straight up rap, but the other half is definitely, more singing, more just like kind of talking over beats or having different, like, it might be in World Star, but the part where he has the sound bite of the woman, like, I am a 300, or no, it's Zealot, I think it is. Yeah. I am a 350-pound black woman. Like, just random stuff like that, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That he throws in there.
Yeah.
Speaking on Because of the Internet, I don't know if you know this, and it's been so long since I've looked into this, it's been years since I've looked into this, so I don't want to, like, get into it too detailed, but he actually wrote a, like, screenplay that like goes along. It's like the story of quote unquote the boy that like supposedly the album is supposed to like follow along with this screenplay or whatever. So something to look into. It's a little interesting.
Okay, yeah, I had no idea.
I think at one point he intended to like actually make like a full length like music video that like tied in all the different songs and was like this cohesive story. But I think something ended up happening, or maybe it was just a thought project more than anything. But
yeah, the one thing that I found out about the album Because of the Internet, I guess the last song, the biggest troll, apparently I guess it leaked, and the leaked version like cut off like halfway in between the song or whatever, and the people who downloaded it or whatever, they just thought that was it, and then the album version came out, and then the song continued on. So like there's like a segment of his fan base that have never heard the rest of the song. They just only heard that part where it's just kind of abruptly cut off because they thought that was him trolling them, that the song just cut off. So they thought that was it. And people was like, oh, that was the perfect ending. And then they listened to the whole album. They're like, oh, what the hell? Like, what? No. Like, it continues on. So there's some people that never heard the rest of it.
I actually had never heard that before.
Yeah. And there's some people that were mad that he continued it because they thought it was a perfect ending for the song to just abruptly stop because it's called The Biggest Troll. So
in a sense, I could see where they're coming from in that. Yeah. That's pretty funny. Do you think he did that intentionally? Did he intentionally leak it with that?
I mean, potentially, because like that's what people do all the time. Like, there's a lot of artists that, oh no, my song leaked. I guess I got to release the album now. It's like, come on. Like, we know you talked to like, hey, go ahead and just put the song out. My record label is holding my stuff hostage. Let me go and put this song out, and then basically force the record label's hand. That was back in the era when record labels pretty much like had full dominance. Now, you and I, literally, after we get through with this, we can put out an album tomorrow and be on iTunes. So the world has changed. So, yeah,
that's true.
So there's a lot fewer gatekeepers these days than it was back then. But yeah, I mean, I would. But the thing is, though, because it's Donald Glover, I wouldn't put it past him. Like, the guy's a freaking genius. So I don't know if he thought that far, or if it was just osmosis, or if there's fan theories. Like, I don't know who it was to believe, because the guy's like an enigma. Like,
he really is.
It's unfair.
Like, it's not without the realm of possibility, you know.
100%.
Yeah, it could be. It's not a reasonable doubt that it could be. So
The only thing I want to see at some point, and I'm not sure if it has happened or if it's going to happen, but if you can get Timbaland and Childish Gambino,
man,
on
the
the
thing is,
same
that makes me
track.
sad is I don't know if Childish Gambino is going to make any more music. I think he's said. I mean, I know artists say all the time. Like Logic retired, and he's been making more music, as an example.
same
But,
thing with Jay-Z.
yeah, so he may come back, but I also know he's got like a small kid or two. He's married now. He's been directing, producing Atlanta. So I would love it again, because it's one of my favorite artists of all time. I'd love it if he could get with Timbaland producing his beats.
That would be
Just
that
like,
would be just
dude.
yeah. I can just go in the cave and just die. Like, I'll be happy.
I would want it to be definitely. I would want the vibe to be more of like the Timbaland albums you had, like more of a like fun vibe.
Oh, yeah.
If they ever collab like that, that's what I would hope. Like the vibe of the album would be versus more of his like biographical going hard vibe that he has sometimes.
I mean, if he were to collaborate with Timbaland, I think it'll be definitely a fun vibe for sure. But you got to have that one. You got to have that one song.
They need to have one, but just as a whole, I'd hope the album would be more of a fun than just pure going hard. Just because I feel like with both of them coming together, that's where they would shine. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that for sure. You got anything else you want to add, commentary wise?
No, I think that's it for me too.
Okay.
I would just like to say thank you for like officially introducing me to Timbaland. Like he's again, it's just one of those names that I knew of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he played on like a few, or he like featured and helped produce like Justin Timberlake songs and stuff. Like in like early mid late 2000s stuff like that. So like I knew of him, but yeah, man, you definitely have converted. You've forced me to become a new Timbaland. I shouldn't say forced, but you gave me the avenue to become a new Timbaland fan. So I thank you for that.
You're welcome. We're all about consensual Timbaland around here.
Yes, consensual Timbaland. That should be the name of this episode.
Actually, I might roll with that. So, but yeah, and likewise, thank you for. I'm about to say forcing. That's not really the word either. Thank you for encouraging me.
There you go. That's a good word.
Yeah, to dive deeper into Childish Gambino as an artist. Again, like he was someone I knew of, and I was like, oh yeah, Donald Glover, he also raps. Oh yeah, he's a great rapper. But I never really like listened to his whole album and got his whole vibe. And I kind of just, maybe like one or two songs here or there. I know I listened to because of the internet way back when, but it was during a time where I wasn't really like, I don't know. It was like one of those albums I listened to, but I really didn't listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And with this one, I wanted to really listen to it. Like I listened to it multiple ways. Like, I listened to it in the car, and then I just put on some high quality headphones, and I just put them on at night, and I just listened to it that way. So that way, I kind of had a full sound. I had the noise cancellation on. Like I was like fully immersed into it. So that's how I plan on tackling these different projects and different topics that we hit on the podcast. So thank you, listener, for listening to the show. Don't forget to do all the things, like, follow, share, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. And for the latest on the pod and links to the music discussed on the show, you can go to our website, or you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter for now if it hasn't imploded. Follow us on After Listen Pod. So keep on listening.
Please.
We need you. Peace.
See ya.